Men, how often should you actually ejaculate? Because what the ancient Taoists said and what science says are two completely different stories. The Taoists believe that in your semen is your life force, and their formula was clear. In your 20s, no more than every 4 days. In your 30s, every 8 days. In your 40s, every 16 days. And if you're over 50, you got to conserve as much as possible. But science says men who ejaculate 21 times or more per month actually have a lower risk of prostate cancer. So what's the truth? Should you be holding it in or letting it out? And how much is too much? In the latest episode of Heal Thyself, I break down the ancient wisdom, the modern research, and exactly how much men should be ejaculating for optimal health. And I promise you, this one's going to surprise you. Thank you for joining this episode of Heal Thyself. To support the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. It gives us the opportunity to really expand this knowledge to people who need it most, and you can do your part by just sharing the love. Again, thank you for listening. I'm forever grateful, and I love you all. Let's get started. All right, what if I told you that your sex life, your energy levels, your creativity, maybe even your success in life could all be influenced by how often you ejaculate? Now, some people are going to tell you, never release, keep it in, save it, it's your life force. And others are going to say, that's nonsense. Ejaculate every day, it's healthy for you. So what is the truth? We're cutting down the noise. And you're going to learn the history, the science, the spiritual roots, and the hard evidence behind semen retention. Is it ancient wisdom or modern pseudoscience? Because right now, semen retention has become a viral trend. It's all over TikTok, it's all over YouTube, and spiritual and fitness communities alike are talking about it. People are claiming that it can make you superhuman, more testosterone, more energy, better focus, more masculine power. Is it real or is it a myth? And the thing is, here's what's wild. Some of the greatest spiritual traditions in history practiced semen retention religiously. From the Taoist monks to the Hindu yogis, and even elite athletes like Muhammad Ali were known to abstain from ejaculation before big fights. So the question is there scientific proof that semen retention is good for you? Or is it all spiritual placebo? And what is the cost if you ejaculate every single day? Does it actually harm your body, your mind, your fertility? What about your hormones? Today, we're going to break it all down, the history of semen retention, where it started and why, what ancient spiritual texts say about semen retention, what modern medicine and science say about semen retention, and the truth about testosterone, energy, ejaculation frequency. We talk about how often a man should ejaculate based on age, goals, and biology. And finally, whether you should practice semen retention or not. You will walk away from this episode with science, soul, and strategy, so you can make an informed, empowered decision. Let's dive in. So there's an ancient history behind semen retention, and men have done this for thousands and thousands of years. And before we get into that modern science, we got to go back. We got to take it back into time. And the practice of semen retention is not anything new. It's thousands of years old. Taoist sexual practices go back to the 4th century BCE in China. One of the first documented traditions of semen retention comes from ancient Taoism. And these Taoist texts describe semen as jing, and this is the essence of life. The belief was simple but powerful. The more you ejaculate, the more you lose your jing, the more you lose your vitality, your youth, your strength. And these Taoist masters, they taught us techniques to cultivate that sexual energy without ejaculation. And the goal was really to redirect that energy inward to fuel longevity, creativity, spiritual awakening. We also see it in Hindu Brahmacharya. And this is back in India, 1,000 years BC. And in Hindu philosophy, this practice is one of the pillars of a yogic life. It literally means behavior that leads to Brahman, divinity. And in this practice, it includes celibacy or semen retention, preservation of vital energy for spiritual enlightenment, actually transmuting that sexual energy into a higher form of consciousness. And in these ancient yogic texts, they describe semen as one of the most precious fluids in the body. It actually needs to be cultivated through strict discipline rather than just discarded. We also see it in ancient Buddhist monastic practices. Buddhist monks, particularly in Theravada and Mahayana traditions, they adopted celibacy and semen retention as a way to transcend these earthly desires, letting go of attachments. But it's not just around Buddhism and Hinduism. We also see it in early Christian agnostic practices. And several Christian sects, they practice abstinence and semen retention in the same way to pursue spiritual purity and discipline over these bodily desires. It's also seen in modern Western occult and esoteric traditions. Even in Western mysticism, semen retention was viewed as a path, and it's the path to preserving that masculine power, having that mental clarity. Notably, in the 20th century, Sigmund Freud believed that excessive ejaculation will actually weaken the nervous system and your overall willpower. And back to what I mentioned before, there's a major piece for athletic and competitive context. And when we think about these modern times, boxers like Muhammad Ali, they reportedly practice semen retention right before these big fights. Many athletes believe that when you abstain, it actually improves your aggression, your energy, your focus. Why? Well, it's the idea that sexual energy is not just a reproductive energy, it's creative, it's life force, it's energetic. And if you retrain it, you can channel that energy to your goals. But regardless, all of this is the common thread across cultures, continents, and over centuries. Men have believed that ejaculation drains the life force, and semen retention will build up your vitality, build up your focus, and build up your power. I want to talk to you about something that has been a game changer for me, that is bond charge. And if you're like me and always looking for ways to optimize your health naturally, you're going to love this. They've got this huge range of products backed by solid science. And I've got to tell you about my favorite one, that is the red light face mask. It is super lightweight and does not get hot. It's really comfortable and easy to wear. And the best part is it uses both near infrared and red light to boost collagen and elastin production. That is a secret to healthier skin. Now, I've tried red light devices for a long time. Bond Charge really stands out because they've actually removed that sleep disturbing green and blue light that a lot of red light products have out there. Plus, they have zero EMFs, zero flicker, and it comes with a 1-year warranty. Head over to bondcharge.com and use the coupon code DRG to save 15% off of your order. That is BONCHARGE.com. And don't forget to use that code DRG for 15% off. Let's talk about something that is crucial for our health, but often overlooked. It is hydration. And I'm not talking about just drinking water. I'm talking about getting electrolytes. Sometimes water doesn't even hydrate you, right? You need electrolytes. I love LMNT, and I especially love their brand new LMNT sparkling drink that I keep in my fridge. I use it after every sauna session. And what really sets LMNT apart is their science-based formula. They actually provide 2 to 3 times more sodium than the typical recommendation, plus the perfect balance of potassium and magnesium. And they do it without any sugar, any artificial ingredients, none of that nasty stuff, right? And they have their 16-ounce sparkling cans. And this is the on-the-go hydration. They have different flavors. You put it in the fridge, and when you need something cold to really hit, whoa, I'm telling you right now, you're going to love it. Whether you're an athlete or just on a low-carb diet, or you want to avoid headaches, brain fog coming from electrolyte imbalance, LMNT is simple, it's easy to use, it's tasty. You get a free sample pack with any purchase at drinklmnt.com/DRG. That is DRINKLMNT.com/DRG. But is there science behind it? Or is it purely just spiritual belief? That's what we're going to dive into in this next section in detail. What does the science actually say about semen retention, the evidence, and just the overall myths? Now that we've unpacked the rich spiritual history of semen retention, we know it goes back a long time. We know the views. Let's really get into this modern era. Because when I'm talking about wellness, we don't just stop at tradition. There's major value, but we got to look at the science. Now, here's the big question everyone's asking. Is semen retention backed by actual medical research, or is it just some sort of spiritual placebo? Let's break it down. There are short-term effects of semen retention. There have been several studies that have looked at what happens when men abstain from ejaculation. One study called the Testosterone Surge, published in 2003, is one of the most cited studies on semen retention. And in this study, researchers took 28 healthy men and had them abstain from ejaculation. And what they found was actually fascinating. On day 7 of abstinence, men experienced a massive spike in testosterone, around 145% increase. But after day 7, testosterone levels return back to baseline. So what does that mean? It may mean that there's actually a short-term anabolic energy or aggression surge after about a week of retention. But the spike is temporary and it's not cumulative over time. Another study called Modern Stress and Semen Retention, published in 2019 in Frontiers in Psychology, this study evaluated men who practiced abstinence for 2 to 3 weeks. And some reported increased tension, anxiety, mood swings, and even insomnia. But why? Because ejaculation triggers a dopamine serotonin cycle. Without that release, the nervous system may experience increased tension in the body, especially men who are prone to overthinking or perfectionism or even sexual repression. So the claim that semen retention always makes you calm and focus, isn't necessarily true. It can actually increase tension in some people. But let's think about the long-term effects. What's missing in the data? And the truth is that most retention advocates are not going to tell you there's no really high-quality, large-scale, long-term clinical research that is providing us evidence that long-term semen retention will improve your overall health. We don't yet have those robust studies that show that semen retention is going to improve your testosterone sustainably over time, or it improves your fertility, it extends your lifespan, boosts muscle mass, it can enhance your muscle clarity, especially for the long term. Most of the evidence right now we have is anecdotal. It's based on spiritual tradition and not really any clinical trials. So is ejaculating every day actually harmful? That's the other big question. If semen retention has no long-term data, is frequent ejaculation harmful? Well, here's what the science says. There's a study called Ejaculation Frequency and Prostate Cancer Risk. It was published in 2016 in the Journal American Medical Association. I remember clearly when this was published. And it's one of the largest studies on ejaculation frequency. It tracked over 31,000 men for 18 years. And the results showed that men who ejaculated 21 or more times per month had a 20% lower risk in prostate cancer compared to men who ejaculated 4 to 7 times per month. So this study is actually suggesting that regular ejaculation may be protective for prostate health. But let's talk about sperm quality and ejaculation frequency. Another published study called Fertility and Sterility in 2016 examined men's sperm parameters based on ejaculation frequency. And what did they find? That short-term abstinence, 2 to 3 days, increased sperm count, but longer abstinence, 7+ days, decreased motility and increased DNA fragmentation, meaning that daily ejaculation may lower your sperm count temporarily, but long-term abstinence may actually decrease sperm quality. Does ejaculation affect testosterone long-term? It's a question. This is one of the most common myths. Many people claim that frequent ejaculation is going to deplete your testosterone. But here's what the studies show. Ejaculation has no significant long-term effect on baseline testosterone levels. Short-term dips may occur immediately after ejaculation within a few hours, but your body is rapidly going to rebound. There's no clinical evidence that shows that regular ejaculation is going to lower your testosterone levels chronically. What about mental and emotional effects? What's real about this? Well, here's where it gets more nuanced. While the science doesn't show massive biological benefits to semen retention, there are actually undeniable psychological benefits reported by many men. Some benefits include increased focus and drive, increased feelings of control and discipline, decreased compulsive sexual behaviors or pornography use, greater confidence, more self-mastery, a heightened awareness of your sexual energy. These may not be direct biological effects, but it may be the result of the nervous system feeling regulated, dopamine being reset, and really just that energetic transmutation happening in the body. In other words, when you think about it, semen retention can absolutely change your mind and your behavior. But that's not the same thing as changing your biology long term. So before we go any deeper, here's what the research has told us so far. Short-term semen retention may cause temporary spikes in your testosterone, but long-term retention has no proven cumulative benefits. Daily ejaculation is not harmful for testosterone or your sperm health, and regular ejaculation, 2 to 5 times per week, may actually protect your prostate health. Retention may improve psychological discipline, but can also increase your anxiety and tension in some people. So the science is mixed, but the spiritual traditions are clear. And the truth is, the decision is actually personal. All right, so now that we've gone deep into the ancient roots in the modern science of semen retention, let's talk about the question I get asked the most. How often should a man ejaculate? Is there an optimal number? What's the number? Is there such thing as too much or too little? And does it actually really change with age? Let's break down a little bit more on the medical science. When we think about prostate and ejaculation, I mentioned earlier one of the largest studies on ejaculation frequency was over 31,000 men for nearly over 20 years. Their findings were really clear. Men who ejaculated 21 times or more per month had a significantly lower risk of prostate cancer. That's amazing. The risk reduction was about 20% compared to the men who ejaculated 4 to 7 times per month. So this was one of the most solid pieces of evidence, having shown us that regular ejaculation may actually protect prostate health. And short-term abstinence is going to temporarily increase sperm volume and concentration. But we don't want to abstain too long, at least based on the science. And too long is 7+ days. because it may decrease sperm motility and reduce sperm morphology. Studies suggest that ejaculating every 2 to 5 days is optimal for sperm quality. But I want to talk about the studies on mental health. There are some observational research studies that show that men who ejaculate regularly, which is 2 to 4 times per week, report lower anxiety, better sleep, improved mood. That said, this is correlation. It may reflect your overall sexual health and well-being rather than just being an overall direct cause. But I want to go back to the spiritual traditions. When we return to the spiritual and energetic systems taught to us by different ancient traditions, they go back to semen retention having its root in overall health. Those Taoist masters that I spoke about in the introduction, they emphasize that the goal was not really repression of that sexual energy, but actually energetic cultivation. They encourage actually experiencing sexual pleasure and orgasm, but without ejaculating. And to do that, they would redirect that energy inward. In the ancient Hindu yogic philosophy, we know that there was strict abstinence, especially for monks and those spiritual seekers. And the semen retention is going to increase your mental clarity, your spiritual awareness, and just your overall vitality and vigor. So when we take that science and we take those ancient traditions, we sort of have to begin to cultivate the truth for us. What is true for us? Because there's no one-size-fits-all answer. Based on the science, history, and energetic systems, it's about having a balanced, empowered framework for yourself. So let's go over some of my general ejaculation frequency guidelines. For men in their 20s and 30s, if your goal is reproductive health and hormonal balance, 2 to 5 times per week is safe and may even, actually based on the research, support your prostate health. Now, if your goal is spiritual cultivation, discipline, increasing your creative energy, transmutation, you may benefit from periodic periods of semen retention. You could do 7 to 14 days at a time and see what works for you. Now, if you're a man in your 40s and 50s, if fertility is not necessarily the priority, but prostate health is, 1 to 3 times per week is considered optimal. Regular ejaculation may protect prostate health, remember, and help balance your hormones. Now, for men over 60, prostate health becomes paramount. So regular ejaculation 1 to 3 times per week may actually reduce the risk of prostate issues as per the study I just mentioned. But for the spiritual practitioners out there, regardless of your age, if you're actually on a spiritual path and that's emphasizing celibacy or energy cultivation, choose your periods of abstinence, right? And it's essential to see what works for you. What can help transduce that energy is utilizing breath, meditation, vocal toning, working on nervous system regulation to really transmute that energy, because it's not about repressed tension. It's about moving that tension energy from not releasing and spreading it through the whole body. So what about daily ejaculation? Is that a harmful thing? Well, the data shows that daily ejaculation is not inherently harmful for most healthy men. However, it may temporarily lower your sperm count. It may increase feelings of fatigue if it's compulsive or it's driven by addiction, major one for many people out there. And it may reinforce a pattern of dopamine dysregulation, especially in men who are connecting that with pornography and utilizing that as cheap dopamine hits, especially when it's excessive. So daily ejaculation is not harmful, but if it's compulsive, unconscious, energy draining, it may not serve your highest self. So the bottom line is there's no magic number. The research points to moderation, awareness, being intentional about everything. Semen retention is not dangerous. Regular ejaculation is not dangerous. But the question is, why are you doing it? Are you conscious? Are you compulsive? Is it energizing you or is it draining you? Which leads me to my overall Heal Thyself protocol for semen retention and sexual energy mastery. It's broken into 4 parts. Part 1, you want to know your why. The very first question I want to ask you is why? Why are you considering semen retention? Is it because you want to heal compulsive sexual behavior? Is it because you want to improve your discipline and self-mastery? Is it because you want to increase your spiritual energy and focus? Are you following a tradition that emphasizes abstinence? Are you reacting to fear, shame, societal pressure? Your intention is going to be really important to determine whether this practice is going to be empowering or restrictive. When you're retaining without awareness, it's going to lead to repression. And that's not the goal, not even of the ancients. Retention with intention leads to transformation. Part 2, choose your retention practice. Here are the practical options based on your goals and science. Option A, which is going to be for most men, the balanced, science-driven approach. If your priority is hormonal, metabolic, and prostate health, aim to ejaculate 2 to 5 times a week. Do not stress over ejaculation frequency. Prioritize other things as well, like your health, nutrition, emotional well-being. Then there's option B. This is the energetic and spiritual exploration. This is conscious retention. If your goal is to master your sexual energy, increase your vitality, pursue a spiritual practice, practice 7 to 14 days of intentional retention. Combine that with daily breathwork, meditation, whether it's cold exposure or saunas or movement, creative outlets. And after that retention period, consciously release and restart that cycle. And option C, this is for long-term celibacy. These are for the serious spiritual seekers. If your path is a devoted spiritual practice, I want you to consider extended periods of celibacy, 30 plus days for months or more. But if you do this, you really want to combine it with serious nervous system regulation work, doing somatic work, meditation, spiritual disciplines. Otherwise, repression and anxiety are going to arise, and you're not going to be able to transmute that energy. Retention without energy work is going to backfire. So if you're holding in sexual energy but not circulating it, it's going to build tension, frustration, mental chatter, and it won't be good for you. So if you're choosing to go with any options that have to do with retaining, I want you to couple it with these exercises. Do a somatic breath work, 10 minutes a day. It's going to be really helpful to transmute that energy, especially if you focus on your root. Nervous system regulation, you can do coherent breathing, vagus nerve toning. You can do cold exposure if your nervous system is good and robust for it. It can improve the discipline and actually help assist your testosterone levels. But a big opportunity here is to move that sexual energy into creative outlets. Start doing the music or the art that you haven't done. Start creating those building projects that you really want to do. Go into physical training. Utilize that energy and that vigor to do a strength training program or mobility work. Really get tuned in on meditation and sexual energy transmutation. Visualize moving that energy up the spine into the heart and the brain. You're going to find your organs and your focus and your vitality is going to be replenished. The energy work is real. I promise you that. Especially when you lean into it, you're going to notice how much of a difference it makes. Retention is useless without that redirection. And you really want to check in on your emotional mental health. If you're choosing semen retention out of any shame around sex or fear around sexuality or punishment or suppression around sex, it's going to cause more harm than good. Any retention rooted in shame is going to increase stress and repression, always. So retention rooted in conscious self-mastery is going to help build that energy and clarity. And remember, transmuting it is going to be healing for you. So ask yourself, am I holding and retaining because I'm afraid or because I'm feeling empowered? And if you struggle with porn addiction, compulsive ejaculation, sexual trauma, start with retention for the dopamine reset and healing first and foremost. And then pair that with any therapy or somatic therapy or healing practices that can be really conducive to overcoming that. And don't use retention as a punishment, because if you are healthy, sexually fulfilled, and energetically clear, you don't really need to fear ejaculation, because moderate conscious ejaculation is scientifically neutral or beneficial. So the truth is, your semen is sacred, your sexual energy is so powerful, and the choice is yours. There's no answer. The science says moderation is healthy. Ancients say conscious cultivation is powerful. You got to find what works for you. Remember, the Heal Thyself path is about integrating both. You can heal your compulsions. You can direct your energy. You can use ejaculation and retention as tools, not rules. And you're not broken if you ejaculate. And you are not superior if you retain. You are empowered when you choose to live consciously. So there you have it. You listened to one of the most comprehensive, honest, and deeply researched topics that I've ever put out. And I want to leave you with this. There's no right answer or there's no wrong answer. It's about being informed, empowered, and in choice. So you now know where semen retention originated, what the ancients believe, what modern science says, what the data shows about healthy hormones, what the data shows about health, hormones, and well-being, and how to make this practice really meaningful to you. You've been fed myths on both sides. Some people say never ejaculate, you lose your power. Others say it doesn't matter, ejaculate every single day. The truth is, it's nuance. It's about that intention, self-awareness, nervous system mastery. Your next steps, decide, know your why you want to get into this. Is it for healing? Is it for energy? Is it for discipline? Is it for spiritual exploration? Or because you're afraid of your sexuality? Choose your path consciously. You now have the science and the wisdom to decide and really master your sexual energy, whether you retain or you release. The breath works. Do those practices, the breath works, the meditations. Heal your body, heal your nervous system, really heal your lineage. If you know anyone in your life who's interested in semen retention or they can benefit from this show, please don't be afraid to share it and rate, review, subscribe. and heal thyself.